The Frog. Tara was walking home from school when she thought she'd take a shortcut through a field. She loved the countryside, so peaceful and calm and nostalgic. It wasn't until she heard a disgusting squelch under her foot that she realized too late that she had trespassed into a private horse paddock. Snarling and cursing in disgust, Tara took off her shoe and limped over to a small duck pond nearby. Kneeling on the bank, she dunked the sole of her shoe into the water and scrubbed at the dung with a dock leaf. Tara gingerly flicked the wet leaf away when her shoe was cleaned. Just as she was standing on one leg putting her shoe back on, she noticed a frog sitting nearby amongst the bulrushes, incubating a handful of frog spawn. Tara was disgusted by frogs. In a flash, she put her shoe back on and threw a handful of slurry at the frog. The slurry plopped in the water right next to the frog. The frog hardly reacted, but jumped into the water after the slurry, leaving the frog spawn unattended. In bitterness and disgust, Tara plunged her foot into the pond and stomped on the frog spawn, crushing and grinding them. After the ruined frog spawn clouded over with dirt, Tara hobbled away from the pond, picking her way carefully through the horse dung. Little did she know, the whole time she was limping away, she was being watched very carefully and very sinisterly by a pair of frog eyes peeking above the surface like periscopes. That night, Tara lay awake in bed, feeling slightly guilty about the way she had treated the frog spawn. Just as she was on the brink of dozing off, she heard a very faint and light tapping at her bedroom door. She answered the door armed with the fly swatter, afraid it would be a mouse. She was really afraid of all small critters. Tara yanked open the door and raised the swatter to strike, only to find that there was no mouse there. There, sitting on the carpet, its cheeks inflating and deflating like balloons, was a small olive-green frog. Tara began to get scared as she recognized that it was the same frog she had thrown the slurry at in the pond. Tara swiftly slammed the door shut, hoping she would hear the sound of the frog hopping away. But she didn't. She hastily reached over and propped a chair under the doorknob and squatted down on the floor to peer under the gap. There was a dark, wet stain on the carpet where the frog had been, but the frog appeared to have disappeared. Not daring to take the chair away, Tara tiptoed back into bed, only to feel her head lie down on a hard, wet lump. Tara yelled and leaped out of bed. Sitting in the middle of her pillow was the frog. The frog croaked, and to Tara's surprise, she could understand what it was saying.
You squashed my children.
It croaked eerily.
You squashed my frog spawn.
Tara's room was suddenly filled with the sound of croaking and ribbiting, and hundreds of hideous little deformed frogs appeared out of nowhere. Tara shrieked as the frogs pelleted towards her and pounced on her, covering her all over. In her frightened confusion, she tumbled backwards through the open window, rolled off the porch roof, and fell into the garden below. Instead of dying, though, Tara found herself hundreds of sizes smaller than her usual self. All of the hideous frogs had gone, to her relief. A horrifying thought struck Tara. To see if what she was thinking was true, she tried to speak, but her words only came out as a loud croak. She tried to walk forward, but found herself hopping forward like an Olympic athlete. A frightened Tara hopped out of the garden and over the fields and meadows until she came to the pond where she had first encountered the frog. She knew she must be an idiot to go back there after what had happened, but it was the safest place for her frog self to be, and there wasn't any other rivers or ponds or reservoirs nearby. The countryside was full of adders and crustals and other frog-eating predators. Tara nervously and hastily hastened back into a patch of yellow irises as she saw a fox dart by. hoping it was all just a nightmare and hoping she would wake up back in her bed in the morning in a cold sweat. But she didn't. Tara woke up as her frog self in the same clump of flowers on the banks of the same pond, not daring to move in case she bumped into the evil frog or a predator. Tara spent the entire day lingering in the reeds. Then, as the sun started to set and it was time for her school to finish, Tara spotted a lone figure walking through the field, coming towards the pond. To her embarrassment, she saw that it was Kevin Stanton, a boy from her school. Tara hopped out of the reeds and capered and croaked madly at his feet. Kevin was baffled, and Tara began to feel utterly helpless and trapped. Let's face it, she thought miserably. I'm a frog forever. But to her surprise, Kevin bent down and picked her up. Are you a girl frog? He asked. Do you want a kiss? Tara wondered if he was only joking or if he actually meant it. But before she had time to do any more croaking or capering, Kevin held her up to his face and kissed her. At once there was a loud cry, and Tara found herself back to her human self in her pajamas. What happened to you? Gawped Kevin, flabbergasted. Tara told him about her killing of the frog spawn and the disfigured frogs coming back for revenge. She thought Kevin wouldn't believe her and would think she was a nutcase, but having just seen what seemed to be an ordinary pond frog transform into a human being, he believed every word. Tara took him to the pond. There they saw the frog's eyes sticking up above the surface like a periscope, watching them both evilly. Some time had passed since the dreadful frog episode. Kevin and Tara did walk past the pond a few times after, but it didn't take long for them to start avoiding the pond on their way home from school. For every time they passed it, the same periscope-like frog eyes would be poking above the water, watching them eerily.